And then we'd be wandering in the streets looking for food, and then people would come out of their apartments with things for us. Foreigners didn't know how to, we didn't have a kitchen. We were living in a hostel.
Oh.
So there was no way to prepare food, and so we would have to eat out most of the time. And then people were so kind. They would come and they're like, "You're hungry? Hungry?" they would come, wait, and they would bring us food. It was so
nice.
sweet.
Hello everyone, Ahmed is here, and today I'm gonna interview someone who came to Taiwan before I was even born, like somewhere in the mid-80s, and her story is super fascinating. She was inspired by the Kung Fu, by Chinese culture, and at that time, Taiwan was the best choice. So everybody, let's say hello to Pia and let's learn her story.
Hello.
So why did you come to Taiwan?
Wow, that's a long story. When I was really young, like in second grade,
Okay.
in primary school,
Okay.
there was a series that came out called Kung Fu with David Carradine, and he was a martial artist that was trained in a Buddhist temple.
Okay.
And every time he would come up against some sort of a challenge, his master's words would come up in his mind, like when he was a young monk and learning Kung Fu and learning Buddhism, and the master was opening his wisdom. And his name was Grasshopper.
Oh.
You may have seen some of the later.
Yeah, I seen later. Like I saw Kill Bill. He was also he was actually Bill from Kill Bill.
Oh, okay. Actually, a lot of the people who came in the 80s were inspired by the Kung Fu series to come and learn and find martial arts or spirituality or Buddhism, Taoism, those kinds of things, because just so his like calm and peaceful character, and then like when somebody challenged him, his Kung Fu would come out and he would just like totally control the situation, but with just the right amount of, what do you call it, strength, and then compassion, and then teaching whoever he was trying to subdue. At that time, everything was made in Taiwan. So Taiwan was more prevalent in people's minds. In my university, we had a professor from Taiwan.
Oh, really?
Who came, from Shifan Daxue in Taipei, and he taught like a course on introducing Chinese language and culture. And that was just wonderful to look at how the writing went from the pictures to the writing that it is now, and the radicals and the meaning within it, and it's just so fascinating. And he would talk about I Ching and Chinese medicine and all these really cool things, and just made me so excited to come and learn about Chinese culture and delve into these mysteries,
So once you arrived in Taiwan, that was like in 80s?
Yes.
80s. So how was Taiwan back then? And was it like any cultural shock to you?
Of course, my goodness, it was so different.
Really?
Yeah, it was so different. At the time, it was still under martial law. So at night after 11, there was a curfew. So you couldn't go out after 11, and every Monday afternoon at 4, I think, there was an air raid drill. And so, like every Monday for about 15 minutes.
This is what they do now, but like once a year, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was once a week. It was every week, 15 minutes, and all the cars had to stop. All the people had to go into doorways. You couldn't be on the street.
Every week. Wow.
Every week. And Taipei, every time there was a typhoon, Taipei would flood so much that all of the first-story buildings, the restaurants, everything would have to close. And then we'd be wandering in the streets looking for food, and then people would come out of their apartments with things for us.
Wow.
They would see us wandering in the streets, because the foreigners didn't know how to. We didn't have a kitchen. We were living in a hostel.
Oh.
So there was no way to prepare food, and so we would have to eat out most of the time. And then people were so kind. They would come and they're like, "You're hungry? Hungry?" they would come, wait, and they would bring us food. It was so
nice.
sweet. Yeah. So many touching things.
Oh wow. So like, so you've been to Taiwan like 30?
Off and on for 35 years.
35 years.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you have lots of funny stories.
Oh, yes, definitely. One couple of really funny stories from when I was first here. One of them is when somebody, my students took me to the Shilin night market, and we went to, they told me they're going to take me to chou doufu. I didn't know what I didn't understand chou. I just know tofu. Oh, tofu, I like tofu. So we go to the stall, and we are upwind of it, and the wind is blowing that way, so I don't smell it. And then the guy brings the chou tofu, and all my students are like waiting for my reaction as I eat the chou tofu, and I put it in my mouth, and I'm like, I spit it on the ground, and I'm like, tell him his tofu has gone bad. Please tell him he can't sell it anymore. His tofu has gone rotten.
But I think this is Taiwanese love to do it, like stop foreigners. But I did the same to my family when they were here.
Oh yeah. One more really funny story is about also tofu, but this time it's tofu ru. So I went with Jiu Tuan up to Hehuanshan, and we had like a traditional breakfast with a porridge, and then there was like all these little things, peanuts and little thingies, and there's this little plate with 3 pieces of tofu, and I'm like, how cheap. 6 of us and 3 little pieces of tofu, and nobody was touching it. So I took a piece of the tofu and I put it into my bowl, and everybody's eyes went, and then they're like, did you eat that before? I'm like, yeah, it's tofu roux. You ate it before? Tofu, yeah, tofu. No, not tofu, tofu roux. And I didn't hear the roux, I just heard the tofu. and I put the whole thing in my mouth at one time, and everybody's eyes got it. And people were looking away, people were like running away, and I put the whole thing in my mouth, and I'm just like, what is this? I ate 2 bowls of rice porridge so fast. Everyone was laughing hysterically. I'm like, okay, it's not tofu. What is it? Tofu roux. Okay.
Is this like a fermented or a very spicy one?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I tried that. It was not good.
It's like creamy and stinky. And it's like the blue cheese of tofu.
Oh, I might like it though.
Yeah, you're supposed to take little bits.
Yeah, and from like 80s till now, you all the time in Taiwan, right? Most of the time.
No. I lived in Hong Kong for quite some time. I lived in mainland China. I studied Chinese medicine in mainland China at Xiamen University.
Okay. That
was 1989 through 91.
And how do you compare those places?
I speak Chinese, so when you're interacting with people, the interaction is at a much deeper level than with most people who are just traveling, who didn't have that access. And plus, like, when I was studying, all of my classmates were I was the only Westerner.
Oh, really?
I think till now, to ever go through the Chinese medicine program at Xiamen University. Yeah, I remember that like most people go to Shanghai or Beijing or whatever, but the program at Xiamen, I was the only Westerner. Like when you're learning something in Chinese together with Chinese people or whatever, the conversations, all of the walls break down.
Yeah. It's a very different interaction because
Yes.
like you are one of them, not like outsider anymore.
Yeah. I also lived in the Philippines for a while. I had some Filipino friends, and it was really interesting. I came back because my martial arts teacher, I had started learning with this really wonderful martial arts teacher, and when I was in the Philippines, I was there with a few classmates, and at one point I started to get homesick for Taiwan. I would have like the flavor of tea in my mouth, oolong tea, and I'd be like, I haven't had oolong tea, and then I was thinking of my martial arts teacher, and I was thinking, oh, I have to go back and continue learning. Yeah.
I see. Yeah. So once you set your foot in Taiwan, like it's very difficult to leave for longer.
Yeah, there's so many things I want to learn here, and so like I would leave and I would go to other places, but then it'd be like, Taiwan. I would come back. So I just mentioned my my martial arts teacher, and that was in Taipei, and it was called 无间道馆. 教练, when he was training a group of bodyguards, so he asked me, because he knew that I'm a Buddhist and I'm practicing, and I practice meditation, and for him, martial arts is together with internal practice. So you need to practice your calm so that you're in control when in your martial arts. So he asked me to teach them meditation, and there was big group of them. I teach them meditation, and all during the class I'm looking at this one guy who had what I thought was a big black eye, and I'm just like, oh man, I don't know what kind of fight he got into, but he got punched in the eye really hard. And so after the workshop, we were having tea and everything, and I asked him, I said, what happened to your eye? And he's like, Tai Chi. Because I didn't know the difference between the word Tai Chi and Tai Chi. So he goes, and I'm like, Tai Chi? With who? And he said, my mother. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm thinking to himself, like, oh, him and his mom, like, they like go at it in the house and they're practicing, and her hand slipped off because she had oil from the kitchen and she whacked him in the face or whatever. And he's just kind of like, and he walks away from me. I can't ask him anymore. So I asked Jiao and Jiao just like, birthmark.
Oh! You need to learn tones. If you study Chinese, tones are very important. If you want to find Pia and learn more about her teachings, her workshops, and meditation, where should you go?
It's a little bit hard because there's no address here, and I'm kind of like, I keep a little bit low key.
It's really like a kung fu master somewhere in the mountains.
So it's on in Chaisan Village, and it's a little wooden hut near the restaurant with the most signs. So if you find me, you find me, and I'm also on Facebook.
Thank you for watching this video. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. I will see you next time. Bye bye.
The monochord helps me even more with the headaches.
So let's say like monochord is basically a bed that is also a musical instrument.
Yes.
So it's like a music massage.
You're lying on, it's like you turn a cello upside down and you lie on top of the cello and the string, but all of the strings are the same note and they create overtones, so everybody's music is completely different. And the vibrations go through your body and it helps to harmonize.